So in this next video we're going to look at optimizing our plans even further now. So we've got our first calculation, and actually we're really not a million miles away from having something that's clinically acceptable. So we've evened out the dose distribution laterally and anteriorly, so I'm now going to focus on the area in and around my PTV. And if you remember, we've said already that we wanted a dose gradient of 95 to 107. Now, depending where your isocenter is, your plan may look a little bit different to mine, but probably not a million miles from this. And what I can see on this is that I've got a dose gradient from anterior to posterior. And the reason I've got that is I can see that I've got 100% of the dose up here, because it's within the green line, and I've got less than 95% down here because it's outside of that blue line, between the blue and the yellow. If I want to double check that, there's quite a nice little evaluation tool, which is this one up here. So I can click that there, and if I click there, it tells me that I've got 102, 103% of the dose here, and I've got, I'm going to drag that down there now, and I've got 93% of the dose up here. So I've basically got a 10% gradient across there, and I want to try and minimize that if I can. So we're going to do that by adding some wedges. Now, if you remember, I mentioned in class that a wedge is to even out the dose distribution on the plan, and we've got a couple of things going on here. We've got a bit of an unusual shape to the patient here, so the patient's not square, but also we've got a different amount of dose going through each of the beams, haven't we? And if we remember that, if we go to our field weighting, that we've got more going through our anterior, so that's what's causing this area here. So to balance that out, we need to add a wedge. So if we think of a wedge as an arrow and pushing dose in the direction we want it to be in, if I just have a go at drawing a line on here, we're wanting to push dose in that direction, if you'd agree with that. So if we're going to push that dose in that direction, then that field is no use to us, because if we put a wedge up there, we've only got a choice of that way, or if I try and draw in 3D, soup to inf, so that's no use to us. So it's got to be on one of the lateral fields, or both of the lateral fields. So if we're pushing it that way, what we want is a wedge that's thick end and like that, pushing dose down. So let's add a wedge then. So a wedge is classed as an accessory in Eclipse, and so I'm going to go to my left field, I'm going to right click, properties, and in my accessory tab I'm going to select what one I want. Now, it really is a bit of a guess, this first one, even if you've planned lots of these. I've got a bit of a feel for what it might be, but what I'm going to show you is an incorrect wedge and how we can see what an incorrect wedge is. So I'm going to stick a huge 60-degree wedge on. Now, the in and the out is the direction of the wedge. So if I select out, we can see that the thick end is ant and the thin end is post. If you select the wrong way round, if you had your coals at 270, then you would need it in the other direction. You need an in wedge. So I'm going to do that on that side, and I'm also going to do the same on the right side. So I'm going to do 60 degrees. And you can see now I've selected the wrong one, that's pointing the wrong way. So what I'm going to have to do is go back in, properties, and it's an in that I want there. Now you can see, now we've changed things, that this has appeared in this top brown corner. This tells me we need to recalculate. Okay, so I'm going to go, again, you can click F5 if you want, or select that tab there, should I say, sorry. And you'll see it only recalculates the fields that we've actually changed. And we can see now, because I've put a stonking wedge on, we can see that it's really, really hot down here and really cool up here. So my wedge is too big now. And again, if I use this little tool here, I can see I've got 108 up here, and I've got less than 95 up there, 93, 94. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is go in, right click, properties, and adjust our wedge. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to have a play with that and to see if you can get an even dose distribution. So I've now got a fairly even dose distribution, and I've got a 20-degree wedge on. I could maybe play with this a little bit longer and optimize it more, but you can see that I've got an area of 100 up here, and then as I scroll down we've got an area of 100 down there. So remember, we're planning in 3D, so we need to be scrolling up and down. We're not just interested on one slice. So that's a fairly even kind of dose distribution, I think, across there. Maybe just increase it a tiny tad more to see what would happen. So I'll leave this video here, and we'll have a look at changing our MLCs in the next one.